welcome back to another No Limits video. This one we're going to finish off the intercooler setup for my big green Jeep. So the last video I did all the air side of it, including a new top plenum. If you haven't seen it, I'll put a link down in the description and probably up over here somewhere to go and check that one out. And yeah, we'll get stuck into it today. So what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be mounting up this radiator. That's to cool the intercooler. Also have to put a filler cap on it so we can put coolant in it. It'll all be circulated around through a little electric fuel pump, electric water pump, which this is a replacement for a Volkswagen product of some sort. And I'm going to try and control it. I don't know how well this is going to work because I've never done this before. With a Davis Craig, it's actually for a fan, so adjustable temperature switch to cut it in and out. So yeah, still unsure how this is going to work, but we're going to give it a go. So anyway, we'll start off, we'll get this radiator mounted up and go from there. Right, we've jumped ahead a little bit. I just had a run of bad weather and been busy, so getting back onto this thing. I've gone ahead and mounted the intercooler radiator, so that's the radiator for the intercooler. Try and stay out of the wind, it's a windy shit of a day. But just use a piece of angle here at the top. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, used a piece of angle here at the top into an existing hole in the radiator, and just trimmed the upright piece off it. So let's do a little bit of a lip there, right across, just so it doesn't impede airflow. And on the bottom, did the same thing, so it's got the lip on the back still, and I've welded flat bar to the sides of it. It actually goes up and picks up the mounts for the radiator. So yeah, so that's how I went about actually attaching the actual radiator onto the front. Plumbing wise, I have I think it's a replacement pump for a Volkswagen. They're quite cheap, so I went that way. It's the hoses, there's that nice writing on the end of them. I'm going through a couple of grommets there. These are V8 Commodore, so VB to VL, V8 Commodore radiator heater hoses. They were quite cheap actually. These were on clearance at super cheap at the time, and were $5 a piece for that hose. And that's actually one of the original heater hoses from the motor. Same thing, just another one. I got a couple of these hoses while I was going. And yeah, as you can see, they're quite long, and they actually run right up to the back of the intercooler, which is the next step, is to put all the fittings on the back and the water filler up there. Also need to cover these hoses just so they don't rub. So that's what we're on to now. To be honest, I'm about to get sidetracked and put the front apron or the front grill section back on for the last time. So this is going on, will be tightened up. So for me, putting that grill on and everything, which is right here, so putting all this back on, that will be a pretty big thing for me personally, just to have the front end back on it and stay on it. It also means I can put the front bumper back on, which again is another big thing. It's probably not at that stage. A lot of people would leave it till the end, but it's small goals, like small victories. So we'll do that, and there I can put the bumper back on and it'll look like my Jeep again. So alright, we'll get this grill and everything back on. Oh no, you can see how tight everything is here in the front end. Like it only just fits. Couldn't have gone much bigger on that radiator. Looking now, it would have been nice to get a wider one, but definitely couldn't have been any thicker. But that's little steps. So now we'll worry. Right, so now all that's back on. Next step in the intercooler stuff, we'll be doing the plumbing up behind the intercooler. I'll see what I can film because it's very windy today, so I'll see what I can get. Otherwise, it might lose it all with wind noise. But I'll definitely show you how I go about doing this side of it. All right, so a little bit of time has passed. I've been tinkering away with this thing, putting a heap of stuff back on just to work out where everything's got to go. That's why it now has an airbox and winch controls and stuff all put back in. But as for the plumbing for the intercooler, they're my two water lines that run up here, and this is all the joiners and bits and pieces to make that actually work into the intercooler. Would have been nice to get a fitting that went straight from this size to that size, but they don't make one, so we have an adapter because these are 3/4 NPT, and then we've had to actually step it down to a 5/8 barb fitting. So that was sort of the best I could come up with for there. But yeah, so this is what we've got. So that's the filler. It has got an overflow line that runs off that side. This big T here, there's the sensor to actually keep an eye on the temperature of the water in the intercooler, and it's what controls the pump. So I have run it, taken it for a little quick drive, and I have it set to the lowest point at the moment, which is 40 degrees. The water does get up to that temperature relatively easily, and then the pump just cuts in. So once it's all completely back together and actually get to drive it, we'll keep an eye on the intake temperatures and see how well this works. And I don't think it's going to cycle in and out, but if it's enough that it gets over that, cuts the pump in and runs the pump until I turn the car off, then that's fine. Just means I'm not running the pump from the moment you turn the ignition on, so give the poor old battery a bit better chance of firing the engine up. So now for the electrical side of it. So this is the point that I'm up to. Up in here, there is my fan controller. Actually up against mounted it on the inside of the firewall. It's got its wire that runs out to the sensor, and that one that runs to the pump. This particular, because this is made for fans, it's actually set up to have 2 fans, which may be an option. If it's really not up to the job, I can add a fan to it and get it to cut on as well. Same as there is, they call it an air conditioning, but I don't have air conditioning, so I could actually run this to a override switch and just turn the whole system on as well if I needed it. Fairly simple to hook up. So it's that red wire's main power from the battery. The yellow wire is just an ignition switch, which I'll run over to the back of my ignition switch. I have a black wire here for an earth, and as I said, I've got an override, and then it comes out as fan 1 is this one, which is fused, and then fan 2, which has its own fuse as well, and then I've got 2 relays up here. So I'll finish connecting these wires and tie this up a bit, and I'll show you how it all works. Right, so you can see that's the current water temperature at the intercooler. It's 28 degrees, and it'll cut in at 40. I can change that depending on what I want it to cut in and out, but I'm going to start with 40 and go from there. Just give me an idea of what it's, how it's all going to work. I've got to go right back around. So yeah, we've got it set back to 40. As it tells you the current temperature is 28, so I can keep an eye on that. We'll be, first sort of couple of test drives, I'll have the scan tool on at the same time, just keep an eye on the intake temperatures, make sure that's all working like it should, and then I'll adjust it from there as well. But probably end up just leaving it at 40, to be honest. But anyway, that's pretty the basic setup of how it's going to be. But I'll set the camera up and take it for a test drive and actually watch that number come up and check that it all cycles and cuts in like it's supposed to. So yeah, we'll give it a run. Quick little run and make it come up, but we're still only at 35 degrees. I don't know, had it sitting here running for a little bit. We're at 39 degrees. Should just about click on to 40 and the water pump will kick in. There we go, water pump's cut in. slowly dropping the temperature of the water, which is good. I think it'll get down to 35, it'll cut back out. By the way I read the instructions for this little unit. Yeah, it is. This is a good light. So it is slowly dropping. Yeah, so the temperature is actually slowly dropping as it sits here and idles, which is, well, it just tells me that whole system's actually going to work quite well. And yeah, this is all eBay parts. This is all eBay parts, so it's the radiator, the water pump, even the intercooler, that's all off eBay. I don't doubt there's far more efficient setups out there, but for what I'm doing with my budget, this appears like it's going to work well for my particular build. So anyway. Anyway, that should wrap up my intercooler setup. So that's the water side of it covered. If you have any questions, just leave a comment down below. Yeah, it's a pretty straightforward setup. Like I said, everything's off eBay. Yeah, it's just a generic radiator, sort of the size that there's probably a way of picking which, like how you size it correctly for your intercooler and your application. I really sized mine on the size of my radiator, so that I use that to depict how big of a radiator I could put in front of it. And the same with the intercooler. That's the biggest intercooler I could fit in the location I had. And yeah, like I said, everything's sort of just eBay stuff. So including the hoses, the clamps, all the silicone joiners, the aluminium pieces. Yeah, just made brackets, made it fit, and running it with a Davis Craig fan controller. So that just has a temp sensor, like I showed you, a temp sensor into the water lines. And we'll see how this goes. If it doesn't work like I want it to, and I do decide to change it, I will let you know. I'll throw a video up. But anyway, as you can hear the wind, that's part of the reason why I haven't been filming a huge amount. It's just, I don't know what it is this time of year, but it's just windy. It's windy every day. So it plays up real bad with the audio on all these videos. So yeah, if you like the video, hit the subscribe, share it around, leave a comment, thumbs up, like the video. That all stuff just helps me out, doesn't cost you guys anything. So and yeah, not sure what we'll be doing the next one, but I'll see you in the next one.